Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So yesterday we completed with the ninth chapter. So the ninth chapter described about Bharat Maharaj after taking the uh, body of a deer. Eventually, by Krishna's arrangement, remembers his past life, regrets, takes birth as Jadabharata, and Jadabharata is, uh, he purposefully behaves as if he is dumb, deaf, mad, etc., so that no one disturbs him and he can internally purely focus on meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and achieve perfection. But his father, thinking that no, no, I will have to do something to help him, because he has to stand on his own legs. I have to do something because after me, who will take care of him? Look, with that kind of thoughts, he tries to teach him whatever possible, the Sandhya Vandana, prayers and everything, but he would purposefully not learn it, uh, feigning as if he is not able to understand. He would do it upside down and things like that. Mhm. So his father tried his best out of his great attachment for his youngest son, but somehow, with a despondent heart, he gives up his body and his half brothers, born out of the elder wife, nine of them. They did not understand his spiritual position, and they engaged him in all sorts of menial activities which did not involve much intelligence. So, and they tried to extract as much work as possible from him, having to pay only very uh, meager things in return. And Jadabharata also did not really mind because his purpose was not to make his material life very comfortable, or nor was it, puja labh pratishtha, where I can, I'll have to show myself that I will have to show to others that I'm very, very exalted and things like that. No, he was not interested in any of that. He was just like, let the world not disturb me. I will just focus on worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead internally. And in this way, one day, when Jadabharata was guarding the fields at night from wild boars and deers, so that they don't come and kind of disturb the crops. So he just continued like this. When he was doing like this, uh, the servants of a dacoit king, they wanted to the dacoit king was without a son and he wanted a son. So he promised to Mother Kali that he will offer a human being in Bali to her. But right when it was time for the Narabali to happen, for the human being to be offered, the person uh, who was assigned, whom they thought was very good to be offered in Bali, he ran away. Somehow he escaped, and they went chasing him. And while they were chasing him, they saw this Jadabharat was sitting there in that fields. Uh, so they thought that here is a person who is perfectly endowed to be offered. So they caught hold of him, they tied his hands and legs, and they brought him with great joy to the temple of goddess Kali, where he could be offered in Bali in sacrifice. And right when his head was going to be chopped by the chief priest, Mother Kali, understanding the very exalted position of Bharat Maharaj, or Jadabharata in this case, she became extremely angry. She broke open from the deity and came out and chopped off the heads of all these dacoits, drank their blood, and in this way saved Bharat Maharaj. So this is where the previous chapter ended. Okay. So today we will start with the 10th chapter. We'll start with the 10th chapter and see how far we can get. So fifth canto, even though it has 26 chapters, but the chapters are not very long. So I think in maybe couple of months maximum, or maybe 3 months. I think by the end of March, very likely we will, maximum by end of March, I am sure we will be able to complete the fifth canto and start with the sixth canto. And sixth canto should also end up maybe in maximum 6 months. So I am guessing probably we will have 3 months of buffer, just like we had about more than a month of buffer for the about 1.5 months buffer. Uh, we completed the fourth canto. So my guess is that we may get another 1.5 months buffer, and we already have 1.5 months. So which means 3 months. So which means by September end, Krishna willing, we can complete the sixth canto. This is my guess. There is no promise in these sessions. We don't promise anything. But my guess is, we'll and we can get a head start on the seventh canto. So let's see how it goes. Okay. So let's start this chapter. अत सिंधु सौवीरपते रहुगणस्य व्रजत्व इक्षुमत्याः तटे तत्कुलपतिना शिबिकावाह पुरुष अन्वेषण समये दैवेन उपसादितः स द्विजवर उपलब्ध एष पीवा युवा संहनन अंगो घोकरवद् दुरं वोडुम् अलम् इति पूर्वविष्टि गृहीतैः सह गृहीतः प्रसभम अतद अर्ह वाह शिबिकाम स महानुभावः. So Shukadeva Goswami continues this narration. So Jadabharata has been saved by goddess Kali herself. And now what happens? So Jadabharata is continuing his journey. He is just walking. Ata Sindhu Savirapate Rahuganasya. While the king of Sindhu and Savira province, Rahugana, Vrajata, while he was traveling, Ikshumatyaha Tate, on the bank of the Ikshumati river, Tat Kulapatina, the leader of his palanquin bearers, Shibikavaha Purusha Anveshana Samaya, he was searching for an extra bearer of the palanquin because, it is a long distance and you need replacements. The palanquin bearers become tired. Okay, so you do need replacements to so that the others can be relieved. So he was searching for replacements. Daivena upasaditah sadvijavara. By chance he came upon Jadabharata, who was the best of the Brahmanas, Upalabdha, who had arrived there. So by chance he had arrived there uh, and he found him. And Jadabharat was Piva. He was very stout and nourished. Yuva. He was very young. Samhanana Ango Gokaravad, and strong like a bull or a donkey. Duram Vodum Alam Iti. So the leader of that palanquin bearers, he thought, oh, he is very much qualified to carry the palanquin. Prasabam grihitaha. It's not that Jadabharat was very eager. Generally, anyone might be eager to carry the palanquin of the king. But in this case, he didn't show any interest. He was not eager to carry the palanquin of the king. So they only had to forcibly engage him. They had to forcibly engage him in carrying the palanquin. Mahanubhavaha, so that great devotee, Saha Purva Vishti Grihitaihi, along with other carriers who were also engaged by force. So it's like everyone was engaged by force, that is mentioned. Saha, the great devotee, Atad Arha, even though not proper for such a job, Shibika Muvaha, he carried the palanquin of the king. So he was not qualified because, a Brahmana, or what to speak of that, a great perfected Vaishnava, he should not be engaged in menial service by an ordinary king. This was not correct. Atadarha, he was not, he should not have been engaged like that, but he was being engaged by Rahugana's servants. Summarizing this chapter, Srila Vishwanath Chakadagur says, the 10th chapter describes how Rahugana, understanding that the foul words he used to describe the carrier of the palanquin were not suitable for a great sage, got down from the palanquin and praised Bharata, Jada Bharata. So this is the summary of this chapter, and we will see how this is being described. Bharata gave mercy to his brothers and neighbors who maintained him with rice and oil cakes, even though they were materialists filled with Rajoguna, by letting them see his farm for a considerable period of time. See, this is a very, very important principle that we are going to discuss here. That a devotee, he is very clear that everyone, compassion needs to be shown to everyone. Ishware prema tatadineshu maitri, balisheshu kripa, dvishatsu upeksha. Okay. So he deals with different kinds of people in different ways. So Ishware prema, he shows love towards Krishna. Tad adineshu maitri, friendship with other devotees. Balisheshu kripa, and he shows compassion towards those who are innocent. And dvishatsu upeksha, he neglects those who are inimical. Okay. But the point is that even in that neglect, there is a mode of compassion. Neglect is not hatred. It is not dvishatsu dvesha. It's dvishatsu upeksha. But that upeksha is also with a mode of compassion. Okay. That one has to very clearly understand. So that he was trying to do upeksha only in the mode of compassion. So in trying to bestow compassion, there is an equality in his heart, in the sense that he wants to show compassion to all kinds of people, but at the same time he discriminates by seeing the qualification of the recipient. He packages compassion in a way that they can relate with. Okay. So the packaging of compassion is very, very specific. So that is what is described here. So Bharata, he showed mercy to his brothers, and his brothers were filled with Rajoguna. So how did he show mercy to them? By letting them see his farm for a considerable period of time. So for many, many years, till he became a youth, Bharata showed mercy to his brothers by allowing them to see his farm because he understood that filled with Rajoguna, they were not in a position to take up, take any advice. Uh, they were not ready to take any advice because they would not be able to see the exalted position of Bharat Maharaj or Jada Bharata. So he did not bother to show his compassion by giving them instructions on spirituality. And he also gave mercy to the leader of the thieves. Even though he was in deep tamoguna, attached to sinful activities, and had beaten Bharata because he arranged for uh, thieves' liberation in the next life because he saw himself and Kali directly. Okay. So when he saw the thieves, they were in tamoguna. So how did he bestow his mercy? By arranging them to be killed directly by Kali, and also by arranging them to take darshan of his physical form. That is how he showed compassion. So the desire to show mercy is very uh, consistent, but the form of that mercy changes. That is why it is mentioned that the mercy of devotees, mercy of very devotees who are clear in their head. Okay. It is called as akapata kripa. Sorry, ahaituki kripa. It is not sahaituki kripa. So which means they do not want to show, Vaishnavas do not want to show compassion, seeing that the recipient is already endowed with good qualities. It's not that Vaishnavas want to show mercy to those who have good qualities, and they want to neglect those who do not have good qualities. No. The mercy of proper Vaishnavas is actually called as ahaituki kripa. Mercy which has no material cause. It has no material cause. So when they see a person possessing some particular qualities, they may think, oh, I am suitable to give mercy to this person. I can give. Sometimes they may think, oh, I am not qualified to give mercy to this person. May someone else give mercy. Okay. But in essence, in principle, they are very clear that every living entity should get mercy. Okay. Sometimes they may feel that I am not capable or I am not compatible to give mercy to such a person. That may be there, but they want to give. Okay. So that kripa, compassion is not stimulated by seeing good qualities or seeing bad qualities. Okay. Sometimes someone may say that, oh, devotees are patita pavan. So the more patit one is, the more they are stimulated to give mercy. It is not like that also. Okay. Whether someone has good qualities or bad qualities, a devotee feels that everyone should get the mercy of the Lord. Everyone should get the mercy of the Lord. So that is ahaituki kripa. So while there is consistency in thinking that everyone should get the mercy of the Lord, when it comes to actually delivering mercy, there is a clear discrimination that he makes. He does not package that mercy in the same way to everyone. Okay. He does not package that mercy in the same way to everyone. So different people, he packages the mercy in a different way. Like we see in the case of Jadabharata, he saw that his own brothers were filled with Rajoguna. So he did not give them any instructions. He just allowed his brothers to take darshan of his form for a considerably long time, and by that gave them some sukriti. And in the case of uh, the the dacoits who were filled with tamoguna, he did not allow them to take darshan of him for a long time, because by taking darshan of him for a long time, it would not be beneficial for him because they were trying to kill him. But he wanted to show mercy even to them. How did he show his mercy? He allowed them to take his darshan for a short while and also allowed them to take darshan of Mother Kali, whom they were till now seeing only in the deity form. She physically and personally manifested. Not only that, he he orchestrated them to be killed personally by the hands of Mother Kali, uh, which would lead to their progress. Okay, so this is how he showed mercy to mm, to those dacoits who were in Tamoguna. But nevertheless, he did want to show them mercy, and he gave mercy to King Rahuguna, who was in Sattva being a Jnani, even though the king made him carry the palanquin through a manifestation of Rajoguna suitable to the position of a king. So, even though Rahuguna spoke with Rajoguna, when he chastised and sarcastically spoke to Jadabharata, there was a clear manifestation of Rajoguna, but Jadabharat could understand that this manifestation of Rajoguna is a temporary manifestation of Rajoguna, which he is showing just because he is holding the position of a king. But very clearly he could understand that this Rahuguna has a predominance of Sattva. So the packaging of that mercy or compassion to him should be in the form of good instructions. Should be in the form of good instructions. So, because the king did not show Rajas or Tamas and shows Sattva, Bharata revealed Bhakti and Jnana to the king. He did not reveal this to his brothers or the thieves because uh, not that Bhakti has any material qualifications. Okay. Bhakti does not need any material qualifications. There is no material qualification for Bhakti and there is no material disqualification also. So one who is in, you cannot say one who is in Sattva is more capable of accepting Bhakti, one who is in Rajoguna and Tamoguna are less capable of accepting Bhakti. You cannot say like that. Okay. You cannot say like that. But having said that, when you are trying to give Sukriti to others, okay, when you are trying to give Sukriti to others, a person in Sattva his Sukriti has to be packaged in a way that would be appealing to him. And when we are trying to give Sukriti to a person in Rajoguna or Tamoguna, similarly, then that also has to be packaged in a way that is appealing to him. Okay. So that is what here Jadabharata is trying to do. That's what here he is trying to do. So it's not that only he gave knowledge of bhakti only to Rahuguna because he was in Sattva. No. Apart from that Sattva, Jadabharata also saw that Rahuguna must have had that sufficient Sukriti through which he could receive the teachings of bhakti directly. If he had not seen that, then that would be ninth offense to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy names. So this is uh, this is how it is reconciled. While the kripa of a Vaishnava is ahaituki kripa, uh, while the kripa of a Vaishnava is ahaituki kripa, that compassion flows irrespective of the pre-existence of good qualities or not. But having said that, the form in which the compassion flows varies according to the material adhikar of the recipient. The form has to be tweaked. The form of compassion has to be tweaked according to the material qualification of the recipient. While we know that bhakti does not depend on material qualification, uh, But still, that accumulation of Sukriti has to be kind of packaged in such a way that people with different gunas find it appealing to them. Okay, this is very important. So the story begins in order to reveal this. It should be explained that though, as Paramahamsa, one should see everything equally, mercy manifests from one's being a great devotee. Hmm. So one should see everything equally, but still mercy manifests from one's being a great devotee, which means a Madhyamadikari. Some say the story is told to explain how, by the mercy of Lord, Bharata's own bhakti, jnana, and vairagya were multiplied 100 times by the mercy of the Lord. Hmm. Rahuguna was the king of the states of Sindhu and Sauvira. The leader of the carriers was searching for another carrier. Bharata had well-nourished limbs and was strong. Thinking that he was capable, he forcibly engaged him. Yada hi dvijavaryasya ishumatra avalokana anugatehe na samahita purushagatis tada vishamagatam swashibikam rahugana upadarya purushan adivahata aha he vodarah sadhu atikramata kimiti vishamam uhyate yanam iti. Yada, when purushagatihi na samahita, as soon as they engaged Adabarata in carrying the palanquin, it was immediately noticed that Purushagati, the cadence or the, what do you call, the movements of the palanquin bearers was not it was not what to say, coherent. Hmm. It is supposed to be coherent. Okay. The front two and the back two, their cadence and their strides should be left, right, left, left, right, left. It should be in synchronous. Right? It should be very synchronous. If it is asynchronous, then the palanquin will start shaking up and down or sideways. Okay. So, but when Jadabharata was robed in, it became very asynchronous. It was not very coherent. Why? Dvijavarasya anugatehe, because of the way Jadabharata moved. How did he move? Ishumatra avaloka. Okay. Ishu is an arrow. So Ishumatra here refers to the distance which is of an arrow. Okay. Which means 3 feet roughly. Ishumatra avaloka. So Bharat Maharaj would just see 3 feet ahead and keep observing if there were any ants or insects or anything like that. And then he would jump. And then look 3 feet. And then he would jump. Now the other 3 palanquin bearers are not going to walk like that. So when one of them is walking like this, definitely the palanquin is going to rock. Hmm. So tada, at that point of time, Rahugana Upadarya, Rahugana understood that Swashibikam Vishamagatam. So Rahugana started noticing the irregular movement of the palanquin, that it was rocking inside. He noticed it. Adivahata Purushan Aha. So he spoke to the palanquin bearers. He spoke to the palanquin bearers. He said, hey, Vodaraha, O carriers, Sadhu Atikramata, walk properly. Kim Vishamam Uhyate Yanam. Why are you carrying the palanquin unevenly? Iti. In this way he spoke. He chastised the palanquin bearers and he said, what's wrong with you? Why can't you carry properly? Okay. Carry properly. Like that he chastised them. So Bharata moved only after glancing 3 feet ahead to avoid violence to ants. So the movement of the men was not synchronized. Atata Ishvara Vachaha Sopalambam upakarnya upaya turiyat shankita manasah tam vignapayam babuvuhu. Ata Ishvara sa upalambam vachaha upakarnya. After hearing the chastisement of the king, they, the other three carriers, turiyat shankita manasah. They they were afraid. There is samadana beda danda. Okay. Sama is speaking kind words, pacifying words, okay, and trying to cajole the person to do something. Dana is to try to bribe him, give him some gifts, and try to bribe him to do it. Third is Bheda. Bheda means to threaten that person, to scare that person. So Rahugana did not, when the palanquin was not carried properly, Rahugana's, because he was in the position of a king, he directly started with the third, Bheda. He started threatening them. So they understood. Again, if there is a discrepancy, then Bheda has come next, Danda is only going to come. Danda is the fourth. Turiyat. Turiyat Shankita Manasah. They became afraid that uh, the, uh, the third form has come. Next is going to be the fourth form, direct punishment. So they understood. Okay. So what did they do? Tam Vignapayam babuvuhu. So they spoke to the king as follows. So they are going to complain about Jadabharata. Because why should they give up their lives because of him? The king has to know that the mistake was not theirs. The mistake was only of Jadabharata. Okay. So they wanted to communicate to the king. So the carriers heard abusive words of the king. The fourth method amongst Samadana, Beda, and Danda is punishment. So they thought, okay, next punishment is going to come. So they told Rahugana, Navayam Naradeva Pramatta, Bavad Niyama Anupataha, Sadhueva Vahamaha. Navayam Naradeva Pramatta, O Naradeva, O king, Navayam Pramatta. We are not inattentive, the three of us. Bavad Niyama Anupataha, Sadhueva Vahamaha. Following your orders, we are carrying properly only. I am, but this person, aduna eva niyuktaha, aduna eva niyuktopi, na drutam rajati. But this fourth man, aduna eva niyuktopi, he has been engaged only now. It's not that he has been carrying for many, many kilometers. We have been carrying for many kilometers. If at all there should be any discrepancy in the movement, it should be due to the three of us because we must be tired. But this young man, who seems to be quite well built also, aduna eva niyuktopi, even though he has just been engaged in carrying the palanquin, but na drutam rajati, he does not walk quickly. So he does not walk quickly. Na anena saha vodum uha vayam parayama iti. So therefore, we will not be able to carry the palanquin with him. It is not possible. We are willing to walk fast. We can walk fast. But if the fourth person is not cooperating, you cannot walk fast. You can have three very good tires, but a car needs the fourth tire also to be in healthy shape for the journey to proceed. So he said that three tires are good, but the fourth tire is not good, even though we just purchased the fourth tire. Okay. There is no wear and tear, but still the fourth tire is not functioning properly. So he says, we are not inattentive, but we follow your orders.
So he says, Samsargiko dosha eva nunam ekasyapi sarvesham samsargikanam bhavitum arhati iti nischitya nishamya kripanavacho raja rahugana upasita vriddopi nisargena balatkrita ईषद उत्थितमन्युः अविस्पष्ट ब्रह्मतेजसं जातवेदसम इव रजसा आवृतमतिर आह. See the greatness of Shukadev Goswami. The greatness of Shukadev Goswami. Like they say in the in in the law, in law they say that many criminals can go scot free, but one innocent person should not be punished. Okay, it is possible that that some of the criminals may go scot free. That's not fine, but that may be fine. But what is not at all fine is that an innocent person should never be punished. Okay, that is a very important thing. An innocent person should never be punished. So therefore, Shukadev Goswami, even though Rahugana is criticizing Jadabharata, but the readers should not develop a very unfavorable attitude towards Rahugana. So therefore, not only is Shukadev Goswami telling about what Rahugana spoke to Jadabharata, Shukadev Goswami is telling who is this Rahugana, what is his position, and why he is speaking like this right now, so that the readers, they have a proper understanding of who Rahugana is. Okay, so Srila Shukadev Goswami says that he says, Nishamya Kripana Vachaha, hearing the words of his poor servants, iti nischitya, Rahuguna understood that ekasyapi eva doshaha sarvesham samsargikanam bhavitum arhati. The fault of one person will lead to a fault in all persons in a group. Why? Samsargiko. Because the service is intimately connected. You cannot have, you cannot have an iron chain which is pulling heavy load. If one of those links of the iron chain is broken, you cannot replace that one iron chain, one link of that iron chain with a plastic link. Okay, because the chain is as strong as the weakest link of the chain. So what is the fault of the other links? That is, for no fault of the other links, you cannot criticize the chain. So the king understood that ekasyapi eva doshah sarvesham samsargikanam bhavitum arhati. That for the fault of one person will definitely lead to fault of all people in the group, because it is a group work. It is a group work. Okay. So everything has to work properly. Everything has to work properly. So, so the king understood. Raja Rahugana Ishad Uttita Manyuhu. So he's going to speak harsh words, but Srila Shukadev Goswami is clarifying. Ishad Uttita Manyuhu. Very little. He became little angry. He did not become extraordinarily angry. He became little angry. Why? Nisargena. Because of his nature, a Kshatriya, has mixed modes of sattva and rajas. In the case of Rahuguna, it was little rajas and more of sattva. Okay. So Nisargena. Therefore, Ishaduttita Manyuhu little bit became angry. Balatkrita. Not only did he become angry, but he fell under the control of anger. Hmm. Upasita Vriddaha api. Even though he had received knowledge from sages. Hmm. So it is not that Rahuguna was an ordinary person. Upasita Vriddaha. Hmm. He had uh, he had received knowledge from the sages. He was a very learned person, but still, because of the situation and because of the little rajoguna that he had, he became little bit angry. Rajasa avritamatihi, and his mind covered by passion temporarily. Aha, he spoke to Bharata. Avispashta Brahma Tejasam. And why did he speak like this to Bharat Maharaj or Jada Bharata? Because his Brahma Tejas was avispashta. It was not clear. Hmm. Jata Vedasam iva. Like a fire covered by ashes. It is mentioned that Jadabharata's body was soiled, his Brahmin thread was soiled. So it was so soiled that Rahugana could not clearly see the Brahmin thread also of Jadabharata. He could not see the Brahmin thread of Jadabharata. So therefore, he he did not he could not see that it was a Brahmana. And its Brahma Tejas was also covered because of Jadabharata not cleansing himself properly. There was a lot of dirt and everything. So it was not a serious mistake on the part of Rahuguna because he could not clearly see Jadabharata's exalted nature. So even though as a Kshatriya, Rahuguna would have never spoken like that to a Brahmana, and never engaged him in carrying the palanquin. But neither Rahuguna nor the head of the palanquin bearers could see that this was actually a Brahmana. They could not see that. Okay. And Jadabharata's appearance was also a reason. Avispashta Brahma Tejasam. Otherwise, so therefore he looked externally more or less like a Shudra. And for a king, he can use threatening and chastisement um, to correct the Shudras because that is the way they can be corrected. That is the way that can be corrected. That works perfectly for them. That actually works perfectly for them. Okay. So, um, therefore he was speaking like that. So it was not wrong on the part of. So if Jadabharata was actually a Shudra, for the king to speak like that is very, very appropriate. Is very appropriate. That kind of a chastisement is good because according to the Shudra's mentality, they respond perfectly to threatening. Okay. So the king was acting properly actually. Otherwise, there would be no law and order. If the king would not use such tactics to control the Shudras. And in the case of Jadabharata, he looked like a Shudra. Jata Vedasamiva, like a fire covered by ashes. Avispashta Brahma Tejasam. His Brahma Tejas was not visible. It was not very clear if he really had, if he was really a Brahmana or not. All the symptoms were covered. So, Ishaduttita Manyuhu, he became little angry. Balatkrita, and he became under the control of that. Even though Upasita Vruddhopi, even though Rahugana was qualified, he had received knowledge from the sages. So, Rahugana says, this is full sarcasm. Okay. Aho kashtam bhratar व्यक्तम उरुपरिश्रान्तः दीर्घमध्वानम् एक एव ऊहिवान् सुचिरं न अतिपीवा न संहननांगो जरसा च उपद्रुतः भवान् सखे नो एव अपर एते संगतिना इति बहुविप्रलब्धोपि अविद्यया रचित द्रव्य गुण कर्म आशय स्वचरमे कलेवरे अवस्तुनि संस्थान विशेषे अहम मम इति अनध्यारोपित अनध्यारोपित मिथ्या प्रत्ययो ब्रह्मभूतस्तूष्णीं शिबिकां पूर्ववद उवाह. Okay, पूर्ववद उवाह. So what does Srila Shukadeva Goswami say? He says, so Shukadeva Goswami is narrating Rahugana, how he was addressing Bharat Maharaj. He says, oh brother, my dear brother. Of course, this brother is spoken in a sarcastic way. Oh brother, aho vyaktam kashtam. I clearly see that there is so much, so difficult. Uruparishrantah. Oh, you seem to be very, very tired. Actually, that was not because he had just started carrying the palanquin. There was no manifestation of tiredness in Jadabharata. But Raghugana is speaking, oh, my dear brother, it must be very difficult for you. I see that you are very, very tired. I see that you are very, very tired. Dirgham Advanam. You have traveled a long path. Suchiram Ekayeva Uhivan. And it looks like you have been carrying the palanquin alone for a long time. Hmm? And look at you. Na atipiva. You are so clearly not healthy, which is not true because it has been mentioned that he was piva. He was very healthy. Now Rahugana is telling, na atipiva. You don't seem to be very healthy. Na samhanana ango. Hmm. You don't seem to have very strong limbs, whereas it was mentioned samhanana ango. These two, piva samhanana ango. He seemed very healthy and he had very strong limbs. But Rahugana is telling, na ati piva, you don't seem to be very healthy. Na samhanana ango, you don't seem to have limbs which are healthy. Jarasata upadruto bhavan, you seem to be afflicted by old age. Again, again it is mentioned that it was mentioned that Yuva, he was very young. But here he says, Jarasata upadruto bhavan, look at you, you seem to be, look at you, you seem to be very much afflicted by old age. So this was all sarcasm, complete sarcasm. Okay. Sakhe, my dear friend, na eva aparayete sangatina. Actually, it is the co-workers who are not cooperating with you. Correct? Only the co-workers are not cooperating with you. Iti, in this way, bahu vipralabdopi, even though he was severely abused by Rahugana, tushnim shibikam purvavaduaha. Even though he was severely criticized by Rahugana in this way, Jadabharata silently carried the palanquin Purvavad as he was carrying before, which means look only 3 feet ahead, check if there are any ants. If there are no ants, jump, and then look ahead, look if there are any ants. If there are no ants, jump. Purvavaduaha, exactly as before he continued to carry. Why? Brahma Bhutaha, because he was situated in the Brahma Bhuta platform. Anadhyaropita Mithya Pratyayah. Aham Mama iti Mithya Pratyayah Anadhyaropita. He was not covered by the false conception of I and mine. He was not covered. Swacharame kalevare, su acharame kalevare, in his final body. Dravya guna karma ashaya, which was not made of gross elements, sense, karma, and antakarana. Avidyaya arachita, and not produced by Maya. Vastuni samsthana visheshe vastuni, a body which was real belonging to Vaikunta. So, Bharat Maharaj, Jada Bharata continued to carry the palanquin silently as before. Why? He was situated in the Brahmabhuta stage and was not covered by the false identification of me and mine. Uh, uh, and he was in his, this was his final body, which was not made of gross elements, senses, karma, and antakarana. It was a real body which was belonging to Vaikunta, and not a body which was made of Maya. So he did not get really offended. So the king addressed him as brother with sarcasm. Sangattinaha means associates. By taking the opposite meaning of the words, the king criticized Bharata. You are not tired because you have just started carrying the palanquin. But he said, oh, you are very tired because you have alone been carrying the palanquin for such a long distance, like that. You are well nourished with strong limbs and you are young. But actually the king said, oh, you seem to be not at all nourished. You seem to be malnourished. Your limbs are not very strong and you seem to be overcome by old age, like that. In sarcasm, he was speaking like this. Are you showing deceit to me, the king, by saying, I cannot carry the palanquin in a regular way with these other carriers, even though they are moving in unison? So, like that. Though he was abused, he remained silent and continued to carry the palanquin. The reason is given. He was not covered with a false conception of I and mine. In his final body made of the 5 gross elements, the senses, pious and sinful results, and the antakarana, which was insubstantial since he had no relationship with it, though it was real. Okay, he had no relationship with the subtle body, even though the subtle body was real, or the gross body, even though the gross body was real. He had attained Brahma Bhuta. Actually, Bharata, like Shukadev, had a spiritual body which was not destructible. It was eternal. Because of the arousal of prema at this time, he actually did not have possessiveness of anything except the Supreme Lord. Except the Supreme Lord, he did not have any possessiveness. Even to his body, which was spiritual. And any possessiveness that he might show to his body was only because of its connection with the Supreme Lord. But actually, he did not have any possessiveness towards his body, even though it was spiritual. However, because of not attaining direct service to the Lord in that body at that moment, he manifested humility produced from increased longing and therefore did not want to offer his sense of I to the Lord. This is a very important point. Long purport. I think we will just take this purport. This is a very important purport. Anyway, so he says, Bharat Maharaj had an eternal body, spiritual body. So the gross and the subtle body gradually by the practice of bhakti sadhana gets spiritualized. It becomes spiritualized. It becomes a spiritualized material body. Okay. Spiritualized material body, but nevertheless material. So because of the arousal of prema at this time, he actually did not have possessiveness for anything except the Lord. However, because of not attaining direct service to that Lord, to the Lord in that body at that moment. So that happens only when one gives up that body and becomes a personal associate of the Lord in the spiritual world. Okay. So therefore, he manifested humility produced from increased longing and therefore did not want to offer his sense of I to the Lord. Because of this, Bharata made a show of having a material body, even though he was full of knowledge. Therefore, Shukadev also describes him as if he had a material body, if one takes the superficial meaning of the words. So, he says, Swa Charama Kalevare. Swa Charama Kalevare means his own gross body. Okay. But if you break the words in a different way, instead of Swa Charama Kalevare, as in uh, Swa Arabdha Karmana, you can split it as Su Acharame Kalevare. Su means very auspicious. Acharame Kalevare means that body which is not material. Uh, that body which is not material. So it is not Swacharama Kalevare. That is one way of splitting that compound. But you can split it as Su Acharame Kalevare means very auspicious, non-material spiritual body. So that is the deeper meaning of it. But if you take the superficial meaning, it is Swacharama Kalevare means Swa Charama Kalevare, one's own material body. So superficially, Shukadev Goswami is describing Jada Bharat like this. But the deeper meaning is that Su Acharame Kalevare, he had no material body. The last phrase appears to mean in his final body made of the gross elements, senses, karma, and antakarana, produced by Maya, a body which was insubstantial, though having a particular appearance. So here you see the words used are Swacharama Kalevare, he has taken it to be Su Acharama Kalevare, Dravya Guna Karma Ashaya means that body which is made of uh, uh, elements, senses, karma, and antakarana, but it can be taken as not made of that. And avidyaya rachita. Avidyaya rachita can be split as avidyaya rachita, which means if it is a material body, then it is made by avidya. Rachita means to be produced by. So it can be split, that compound can be split either as avidyaya rachita, which means a body which was manifest, created by avidya, or it can be split as avidyaya arachita, a body which was not made of maya or ignorance. Avidyaya arachita. It is taken like that. Okay. So in this way, the deeper meaning is understood. However, it should be explained that his real opinion is that Bharata had a spiritual body. The phrase avidyaya rachita dravya guna karmashaya swa charama kalevare actually means in his eternal body that remained after all previous bodies had been destroyed, which was not made of material elements, senses, karma, and antakarna. That is the understanding. Or swacharame can mean su acharame kalevare, an exalted body. Instead of avastuni, the word can be vastuni with no sandhi. Then it means the body was absolute since it was devoid of prarabdha karma. That body possessed Vaikuntha Loka, Samsthana Visheshe. He simply acted like a material person out of humility arising from prema. He had no sense of identification with me and mine. Like that. Okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share as and we can take. We have another half an hour left. If there are any quick questions, we can take now. If there were any unanswered questions from yesterday, we can take that also. If there is something in the chat box, let's see. In summary, Srila Prabhupada writes, he admitted that if one offends the lotus feet of a pure devotee, he is certainly punished by the trident of Lord Shiva. Why here it says punished by Lord Shiva? So here devotees means devotees of Shiva. No. When we go through that verse, it will become very clear. Uh, uh, what is the Apishula Pane? It comes. Uh, Anyways, so even Lord Shiva is not pleased. We saw in Rudragit that when the Prachetas were ready to serve, when the Prachetas were coming together, ready to serve Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva became very pleased and he came to help them by teaching them the Rudragit. Similarly, when Lord Shiva, when someone starts offending Vaishnavas, it is like offending Lord Vishnu himself, then Lord Shiva becomes very displeased. Okay, that is what is indicated here. Okay. Verse 2, Srila Prabhupada writes, killing an animal or any other living being simply places an impediment in the way of his completing his term of imprisonment in a certain body. One should therefore not kill bodies for one's sense gratification, for this will implicate one in sinful activity. Please explain. Does it mean untimely death is possible? So is death not destined? Yeah, it is possible. Uh, See, we have to see that we cannot change anyone's karma, but we can be implicated by our own karma. That has to be understood very clearly. It's not that as instruments of karma, we ourselves have the capacity to change someone else's karma, give them death before they are destined. No. Uh, But the point that Srila Prabhupada is trying to make here is that if you kill that person at the time when he is destined to die, okay, there is nothing wrong with him. But the problem is with you because you killed him. Now you may say, oh, I didn't kill him. Destiny killed him. Yeah, destiny would have killed him anyways. But because you had the desire to kill, destiny utilized you to kill. Okay. But you killed not because of destiny, you killed because of your desire. So therefore, you will be implicated. Okay. So therefore, one should not say that I just became the instrument of his karma. Hmm. I just became the instrument of his karma. How should I be? Why should I be punished? No, 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 no. You didn't become you became the instrument of his karma from the perspective of the recipient of that. Okay. So the recipient should see, oh, he just became the instrument of my karma. But the person who is doing that wrong act, he should see, I am becoming the instrument of my own karma. If I am hurting him, I am gaining bad karma. If I am killing this animal, I am gaining bad karma. But for the animal, he is acting as the instrument of the animal's karma. So, hmm, so this is the way of understanding. Okay. So one should not say, uh, that I am just acting as the instrument of his karma. So if he was not destined to suffer, he would not suffer. So why should I be punished? Okay. So the judge can also say that I am not punishing you. I am just acting as the instrument of your karma. Why should you complain? So he can say like that. And in this way, everything can happen. People can keep punishing each other left, right, center, telling that I am just acting as the instrument of your karma. It doesn't work like that. The judge can use the same argument and he says, oh, I am not punishing you. I am just acting as the instrument of your own karma. Okay. So therefore, one should understand. So Prabhupada, when he says that we are trying to come on the, what does the exact word Srila Prabhupada says is, we become an it places an impediment in the way of his completing his term of imprisonment in a certain body. It is possible. It is possible. So if according to karma, if he has to stay for 20 years in that particular body, if when he is 5 years old, when you kill him, then he may have to take birth and again stay for 10 years, 15 more years in that particular body. That is possible. Like that. What about animal killing prescribed for yajna and offerings to forefathers as mentioned in the Vedas? Yeah, that if performed properly by qualified brahmanas with proper pure ingredients and with proper chanting of the mantras, if everything simultaneously works properly, then then the animal gets a new body. Okay, it gets a new body, and the performer gets whatever he is aspiring for. But even if there is a small discrepancy here and there, that's a problem. Okay, then the animal will not get his body, new body. So, and then everyone becomes implicated in animal killing. You kill the animal thinking that he will get a new body, but your one of your priests failed to pronounce one part of the mantra properly. So the sacrifice is incomplete. The animal would not get his body. So you will get implicated. You are the Yajaman. You will also get implicated by that. So therefore, yeah, animal killing prescribed in the yajnas and offerings to forefathers and everything is proper, bona fide, provided everyone engaged is properly doing their job and the ingredients are pure and everything works together. If it does not work, that's a problem. That's what Narada Muni was telling King Prachina Barhi. You may be a Six Sigma performer of Karma Kandiya sacrifices, but even if you make 1 in a million mistake, that one mistake will come to haunt you. Or you may be a very perfect Karmakandiya sacrificer, but if even one of your priests or the person who, the shopkeeper, he provides the ingredients for your sacrifice, if there is a small adulteration there, if instead of ghee, he gives something which is mixed with some other oil, dalda or something, gone. Your, your sacrifice will be incomplete. That's the problem. Okay, there is another question. In this instance, about destiny as killed, once a question was asked to His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and he replied, if you become instrument of someone's karma, then you may have to face many instruments. Wow, amazing. Yeah, that's the point. You may have to face many instruments. That's correct. Okay, there is another question. Why there is prescription if that is not accepted by the recipient? Is there any Shastric reference that demigods do not accept the offerings made to them? Yes. I mean, okay, I am going to unmute you, Sham Sundaranand Prabhu. Okay. So,
Yes, Professor. Hare Krishna.
yes.
Dhanavad Pranam.
Can you please give me
Sorry,
a reference? Yeah, no problem. Can you
no,
please
no,
give me
I am asking, is there any reference? Because I heard this also before
Hmm,
this argument which was made that demigods do not accept the offerings which are made to them.
yeah.
So
So
I just
now,
was curious. Yeah.
okay. Now I will give you two references. Okay. I
Okay.
would not say references.
Hmm.
I would give you one reference and one, natural,
Hmm.
a logic. Okay.
Okay.
The logic behind that reference. Okay. One reference is Bhakti Vinod Thakur's Bhaktyaloka.
Hmm.
I don't know if you would consider that as a reference, Pramana. Is that
Yeah,
an
I mean,
acceptable Pramana for you?
yeah, definitely. See, my only thing is like sometimes when the acharyas write, there is a social context also for that, why they
Mm-hmm,
are writing.
mm-hmm,
Especially, if I read from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's biography,
mm-hmm,
so his own family and the other family, I mean, the others around them were all fully Shaktic background, which is
Yeah.
happening there at that time, in
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
So sometimes those whatever they write, I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't say that it is not applicable now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but there could be there could be a thing which is there for the that particular time. There is a reason why they are writing that, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and
But
then
he's
there could be a
he
contextual thing,
yeah, but this
and
is there in a book. This is there in a book which he has written purely for Vaishnavas, because he did write some books which
mm,
were for generic audience, like Krishna Samhita, those kind of books, where he
okay,
clearly, in the beginning only, he writes an apology note to the
hmm,
Vaishnavas, telling that,
okay,
oh, some of the Vaishnavas may get offended by some of the things which are written in this book. So, but
hmm,
please do understand that this is made with the purpose of, you know, bringing the outsiders closer. So he presents that, how some aspects of Bhagavatam can be rejected. Like that, he writes because, the
mm,
cosmology and other things which they are not
hmm,
able to, the outside audience may not be able to immediately relate to.
okay,
He says that, okay, you don't worry about this portion, don't worry about this portion. Okay. Like that,
okay,
he makes it a little bit easier for them to digest the thing. Uh,
okay,
but he makes it very clear. But
okay,
there are other books where he clearly says that, like, for example, in his uh, Harinam Chintamani, in that book, he writes, this book is meant for those who accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as their life and soul.
mm.
Okay. So,
Hello, hello.
Principle is wrong.
Sorry,
Okay.
actually, I lost you for 5 seconds.
yeah, just give me a second. Just give me
Yeah.
1 second. Okay. Is it audible now?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So definitely there are some cultural contexts to, and also if you see
Mm,
in one of the books that Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, Prema Pradipa, uh, it's a novel, short novel,
mm,
where he introduces as characters some of the Brahma Samaj people, some of the, you know, uh,
mm.
you,
Arya
you know,
Samaja.
Arya Samaj people, in the conversations and discussions with Vaishnavas, like that, or in Jaiva Dharma also he introduces, certain
Yes,
Shaktas,
yes.
so that is just because, see, there, the cultural context is there.
Mm,
Just to show that how uh, Vaishnavism is right, and to
okay.
compare and contrast with the other practices. But for in doing that, he does
Mm,
not say something which is not Siddhantically correct.
yes,
Okay.
correct. So
So,
I am asking a question whether why not asking question why it is there. I am
hmm,
asking how it is there. I mean, if it is if Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing something, is
hmm.
there a reference to which he is writing, or is it purely based on a cultural context?
No, no,
So
wait. One thing,
yeah.
just because we may not know a reference,
Hmm.
okay, just because we may not know a reference, does not mean whatever the Acharya writes is because of cultural context. Okay.
Agreed.
So he may have a reference, he may not have quoted it, and we may not know the reference. So whatever for which we don't know reference does not mean that the Acharya is writing because of a cultural context.
Agreed too,
Okay.
because sometimes what happened is when we read some of the quotations in quoted from Padma Purana or some other Puranas
Mm-hmm.
um, eh, during our purports or whatever. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I try to search online for those
Mm-hmm.
references. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them I don't get. So,
Yeah.
but I also arrived at the same conclusion, saying that, see, if the Acharya is writing, that means they have, because they are like pure people. What I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we should not question their integrity of referencing something which is there.
Not
I
there.
mean, there or not there. They would not
Yeah.
write something if it is not there in the scripture, right?
Correct.
They
Correct.
will,
Correct.
if they have read it, they would write it. That
Yes.
means in the version of that particular whatever that scripture is available, they are
Mm.
reading, they might
Mm.
have found a reference which they have mentioned in their books.
Yeah.
So that is the thing. Why I am asking this question is like, for example, this
Mm.
concept of I don't know the technical word is for this,
Mm.
one god and many gods. So
Mm.
this is a perennial question happening in the Vedic fold. So
Mm-hmm.
and even Bhagavad Gita also accepts those principles in their own viewpoint, right? So everybody analyzes every sampradaya and analyzes as its own approach towards such worship, right? Especially
Yeah.
the Vaishnavas, they approach
Mm.
as an exclusivistic worship towards the Vishnu and not other gods.
Correct.
They will have a different place for
Mm-hmm.
the other gods and all, according to the
No.
tradition or according to
Yeah.
that particular sampradaya. So
Yeah.
in this context only, so but
Mm.
here my thing here is, when
Mm.
we say that the demigods are not going to accept what is offered to them,
Mm.
uh, because the intention is of the this thing of the
Mm-hmm.
worshipper is
Mm-hmm.
not correct, because they are
Mm-hmm.
having material motive, or they are thinking they are the god, not the supreme lord is the god, whatever with
Mm.
whatever
Mm.
intention.
Mm-hmm.
So in this context, because there is a cultural thing also tied with this. Because if you go to South India, especially in the north, I did not visit so much. In the South India, there are demigod temples everywhere, especially Saivite temples and Ganapati temples, Kumara
Yeah.
Murugan temples. They are
Yeah.
all like very very old temples,
Yeah.
and some of the temples which they are established according to the proper traditional things.
That's what I'm
And
telling. Forget about how many years. If Krishna
mm,
talks about in Bhagavad Gita, then it must have been existing at that time also, right?
yes,
5,000
so
years
that
back.
is
So,
that is
but
my
that's why
only
Krishna tells,
yeah.
Avidhi Purvakam.
Okay, Avidhi
That's,
Purvakam. See, if I read that as, if you are saying that Avidhi Purvakam is when you are looking at worshipping Krishna, and
mm,
the results are going. I think the context for that is, whoever worships the demigods, their results are also given by me indirectly, right? So
indirectly.
that is what Krishna is telling in that context.
Yeah, but nay, that is in a different verse. Here he says, this
Yeah,
is an improper worship of me, he says. And he
yeah,
calls them
improper
fools.
worship of you, correct, right? Improper
Yeah,
worship of me means Krishna,
yeah, yeah.
right? Improper. So instead of directly giving the food to the mouth, you are trying to do something else. That is what he is
Something else is
trying to
what?
hint at. Huh? I mean,
You
you
are
are trying to feed the hand or whatever, something like that.
so
So,
I
yeah,
will give you an example. So he says
yeah.
in
Mm,
that verse, Yatataror Mola Nishechanena Tripyanti Tatskanda Bujopashaka
mm,
Pranopaharacha Yatendriyanam Tataiva Sarvarhanam Achutejya. So in that
correct.
verse, there
Mm,
is an explanation given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Of course, you may dismiss it as cultural also, but I will share. At least
mm,
someone else may not dismiss it as cultural.
mm,
So he says that Yatataror Mola Nishechanena Tripyanti Tatskanda Bujopashaka. So he says that if you water the root,
mm,
there is no need to water the leaves and flowers and fruits at all. Okay.
Correct.
So, but then here, who speaks this verse?
I
This
think
is spoken by Narada Muni. Yes, Narada Muni
yes,
speaks this verse.
Narada Muni
So
speaks,
after, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains, after Narada Muni spoke this first analogy, he thought that someone may say, of course, you know the context of this verse, right?
I
When
think it is in
watering
Pracheta
the root
section.
means worshipping Vishnu.
Hmm. Correct.
Okay, watering the leaves and flowers and fruits means worshipping either devatas or pitrus and whatever. Okay, devarshi
Correct.
bhutaptananam pitranam, whatever.
Yes.
So after speaking this analogy, Narada Muni thought, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says,
Hmm.
he thought that they may say, okay, I am watering the root. Is there anything wrong in watering the leaves and flowers also? Someone may ask
Hmm.
this question.
Hmm.
So in response to this, he says, okay, I will tell one more analogy to clarify it a little more. He says,
Hmm.
pranopaharacha yatendriyanam.
Hmm.
He says that if you want to nourish the limbs,
Hmm.
if you want to nourish the other senses,
Hmm.
you have to do upahara to the prana. You have to do that which is best for the prana. And how do you nourish the prana? Through food, which has to be given to the mouth. So now
Exactly.
you cannot say that
Hmm.
I will give food to the mouth, but is there
Hmm.
anything wrong in giving food to the ears and nose and eyes also? I will give some
Hmm.
sambar to the eyes and I will stuff from some rice into the ears and nose. So he says
Hmm.
that no, it is not the right way. Not only
Hmm.
will it not help, but it will
Hmm.
act as an obstacle. It
Hmm.
will act as an obstacle.
Hmm.
So this is the explanation of that particular verse that is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So I am not, see, one thing we have to understand
Hmm.
that here we have to understand the forum
Hmm.
in which we are discussing this.
Correct. Yes.
The Vaishnavas they do not want to reject demigod worshippers.
Hmm.
Okay. We do not see demigod worship in a condescending way.
Hmm.
Okay. But we do understand that it is not the right thing to be done and it is not the best thing to be done. There are many more layers above it before it comes to the level of pure devotional service. Okay. So
Exactly. My
demigod worship is kind of uh, accepted, tolerated
hmm.
within the peripheries of the Vedic wisdom, within the peripheries of the Vedic fold, they
Hmm.
can exist,
Hmm.
because the Vedic system, they do not want to reject anyone. It's a very accommodating system. Okay.
Hmm.
So when someone has art, someone has, and if you see in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita,
Hmm.
Krishna says that
Hmm.
the desire to worship the demigod is not born out of Shastriya Shraddha only.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
says that that is born out of a Shraddha, which he
Hmm.
calls as Swabhavajam Shraddha. Hmm.
Hmm.
Trividha bhavati Shraddha Dehiyam sa Swabhavaja. Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi Cheti Tam Shrunu, he says.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
17th chapter. He says
Hmm.
there are three types of Shraddha which is
Hmm.
born out of um, which are born out of Swabhava, which means
Correct.
one's mere existence in this material world, experience in this material world, it is not born out of Shastra. And he
Hmm.
says, of those three people,
Hmm.
यजन्ते सात्विका देवान् यक्षराक्षांसि राजसान् प्रेतान्
Hmm.
भूतगणान् चान्ये यजन्ते तामसा जना. He says, of those who possess this swabhavajam shraddha,
Hmm.
those who um, those who are predominantly sattvic, they worship the devatas. Those who are predominantly rajasic, they worship the uh, yakshas and rakshasas. And those who are predominantly tamasic, they worship the pretas and bhutaganas. But
Hmm.
he categorizes all three worshippers in the category of swabhavajam shraddha and not shastriya shraddha. So now, because then you may say that, oh, how can you say that it is Swabhavajam Shraddha when there are Shastras which clearly describe demigod worship?
Hmm.
which are within the Vedic realm.
Hmm.
So that is how we have to understand that
Hmm.
these Shastras have been very mercifully manifested by Krishna, understanding that there will be some people who will have this kind of Swabhavajam Shraddha also. You cannot
Hmm.
immediately reject them. Accept them
Hmm.
also within the Vedic fold by giving them some methodologies to worship the demigods. And by that, gradually, when they come within the Vedic fold, it is understood that they will come in touch with other practitioners who may be more purely practicing. And that way, gradually, they can come to, they can purify their um, attachment to the demigods and get attracted to Vishnu. So we are not telling that demigod worship never existed. It is just a modern, imagination. No, the
Hmm.
very fact that Krishna is talking about it, it means it existed. So
Hmm.
in fact, all forms of deviant,
Hmm.
incomplete,
Hmm.
improper worships have eternally been there. Just that they might have been in slightly different forms. They may be called in different ways,
Hmm.
but everything has always been there. Whether it is Mayavad, whether it is
Hmm.
Shunyavad, it's not that Lord Buddha started Shunyavad. He didn't start Shunyavad. He just
Oh,
popularized it. Similarly, it's not that Shankaracharya started Mayavad. Mayavad has always been there.
but really,
He
is that so? I mean, is that not a contextual thing? Because then what is the why the Padma Puran says about that I will go and spread my avad. So that means he's
Yeah,
just using that.
he will spread Mayavad. It's not that he is
Oh,
going to create Mayavad. Those kind of deviant understandings have always been there. Even prior
okay.
to Shankaracharya came after the speaking of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna talks about Mayavad in his Bhagavad Gita, which means if that philosophy was not existing, why would Krishna speak?
Okay. Okay. Where was it in Mayavad in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhu?
Avajananti mam moda manushim tanum ashritam.
Okay. Okay.
So many
Okay.
other places. You can
Yeah.
take
Hmm.
you can take Mayavad. That indicates Mayavad.
Okay. 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 Yeah. Thank you very much, Roger. This is what I was looking for the class because yeah, you rightly said that we have to first think about the forum in which we are talking. So we are talking to a Vaishnava forum, so the references are given accordingly. Yeah, I understood the context. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah, definitely. See, one thing is, I will just end with this one point that we should know what to speak to whom. This is very important.
Hmm.
What to speak to whom. The what we discuss here will
Hmm.
definitely cannot be spoken to a demigod
Hmm.
worshipper. You cannot quote these things and speak to a demigod worshipper and say that what you are doing is Abhidhi Purvakam, you are Muda, Krishna calls you a fool and things like that. That would be outright commission of the ninth offense to instructing a faithless person about the glories of the holy names. Okay.
Hmm.
So, but at the same time, we should clearly understand for Vaishnavas, for practicing Vaishnavas, what is the understanding? Okay, that we
Exactly.
should be that we should very clearly understand. Okay, and then one more point I wanted to tell that about reference. So I said I will give a reference and I will tell a logic. The logic
Hmm.
is that uh, Vaishnavas accept only prasadam. Okay.
Hmm.
And prasadam means that
Hmm.
which is cooked for pleasure of Krishna.
Correct.
And that which contains patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, etc.
Hmm.
Okay. So, therefore, because the demigods are Vaishnavas, uh,
Hmm.
when they when the demigod worshippers offer them food, which is
Hmm.
which is kind of not exactly cooked for the pleasure of their Lord Krishna, and not using those purest of ingredients, not with the purest of intentions,
Hmm.
they know that they cannot offer it to Vishnu.
Hmm.
Okay. So just 2 days back, we had some old suitcases and there was an exchange offer going on. Okay. So we
Hmm.
had two or three old non-functional suitcases. We took those non-functional suitcases and went to this particular shop, and they were giving an exchange offer. So for every suitcase, there is 1,000 rupees off, and you have to take another new suitcase uh, in return for that. Okay, purchase it. Okay, so they have actually no use of that old suitcase.
Hmm.
Okay, that was just a way of inspiring you to go and purchase. So ultimately, you
Hmm.
know, a 9,000 rupees suitcase, he will sell it for 10,000 rupees, and he will say exchange offer. And you take your old suitcase, give it to him, and give 9,000 rupees and purchase. Okay. What use he has for that old suitcase? He will just throw it away. Or he may resell it yeah, at very dirt price.
Crap.
You want a new suitcase, it is 10,000. You want this suitcase, you can take it for 1,000 rupees. Like that.
Hmm.
You know. So the demigods also, it's not necessary that what you give, they eat. Okay. They take it just so that there is some subservience. There is
Okay.
some subservience that is maintained in this, because that mood of subservience to some superior authority is something which is important.
Okay.
So they collect that suitcase and keep aside. It's not that they have any utility for that.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Like that.
Yeah, nice. Thank you so much, sir.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I am again sorry. There are two questions you are not taken. Pavan Gaurang Prabhu and Mother Gail, and I think Keshav Premataji's hands were also up. But I think we will be able to take those questions on Monday only. I'm sorry. So we will pause here and we will take this discussion on Monday. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.